with this whole thing going on, or how do we get them their wines that they want, But it was a crazy time to actually, as I was for everyone, trying to navigate. The new space, the new world.
It's been cool though. I feel like there's been a ton of ingenuity. I love seeing
totally
our friends in the local business community and how they've adapted and pivoted.
And I mean we're definitely becoming more tech savvy out of necessity.
Totally, yeah.
I've had to learn so much new stuff just with the live broadcasts.
Right, yeah.
Being on like Aptivo and everything. Connecting with wine club members, learning back-end systems, Got a few more skills under my belt for sure, which is, hey, it's not a problem. But, oh, I've got the signal. I think that we're good. I think that means we can start. Hello, everyone in Facebook land. My name is Haley Alexander. I'm sure you've seen me before on these live videos. I'm the assistant winemaker, but Kaya this week stole me and decided I should do the interview for this week. And this week we're actually interviewing Tara Morgan and Alex Cordoza, who own and operate Wild Plum. Thank you so much for having us.
Hells yeah.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, we're super excited. They're actually the chefs and the caterers who are going to be doing the first week of our tasting experience events next week.
Starts on Monday.
Yeah, starts on Monday. Super excited. The menu looks incredible. Super excited about that.
We're excited too.
Yeah, just to get it out of the way, that way we can get to more of the fun stuff. I've got some important points I was told to tell you guys. The tasting room will be closed from August 10th to 23rd for these tasting events. But the patio will remain open for you guys. So if you want to come in, buy a bottle, and enjoy the patio, we just installed those new misters too, so it should stay super cool. Come by, buy a bottle, fill up your flask. We'd love to still see you, even though the actual tasting room is closed for those days. Another thing is we've got a sale on some awesome tumblers and flasks going on right now. They're 30% off. We've only got a few left, so I think that these are awesome for patio, hot tub, floating the river. So definitely stop by and come get these. And then the last thing I'm supposed to mention is all the new release wines are out for wine club members on Monday, and to the general public on August 24th. So there's no better time to join the club right now. That way you can get that early access to the wines. So come on by, join the club. Why not? All right, so those are the promotional things out of the way. I'd also like to remind you guys too, if you guys have any questions for Tara or Alex, please send them our way. Kaya's gonna grab those and ask them kind of at the end of this. But yeah, let's get started. How you guys doing?
Super.
Awesome. How are you?
Super fantastic.
I'm doing pretty good, Staying cool, as cool as I can be. It's pretty hot, but
this rosé helps out.
It definitely does. Yeah, we've got the GSM right now. We've had a little bit beforehand, but might have a little bit more. Who knows? But let's get started with you guys, because you guys are the stars right here.
Hooray.
Tell us about Wild Plum. How did it start? How did you guys kind of come together to create this amazing catering business?
Good question. I've been working in restaurants my whole life, since I was about 17. Tara and I met in 2010 when I moved back to Boise. I'd been living in New York for about 6 years. We got married at some point.
2014, September 20th.
But yeah, I'd been working in restaurants and trying to figure some things out, and Tara had been doing a lot of journalistic stuff and was doing independent journalism and worked at the Boise Weekly. We had talked about possibly starting a food business, and we didn't know exactly what it would be.
But food was definitely like one of our shared passions and something that we were both like motivated by. So
yeah.
I think we decided after a point we really wanted to be business owners and start something of our own. And The kind of regular restaurant model didn't really fit what we were interested in, and so the more we thought about it, the more catering started to seem appealing. It really kind of provided us an avenue to work with a lot of local producers and farmers and source really cool products and not have to worry about wasting them,
Right.
or that product going bad. If people didn't show up that week, we would know that we've got 150 meals we need to cook that night. So,
Right.
catering was kind of ended up fitting our personalities a little bit better.
No, that's awesome. And you guys are, so amazing. You guys have hosted quite a few events here at Cinder, and it's always a pleasure to have you guys come in and have your perspective on, the wines and your perspective, from the food end. So it's definitely a welcome sight in Boise.
Thanks for making delicious wine.
Yeah.
Hey, my pleasure. That being said, what made you want us to start here in Boise? You said that you lived in New York, and there's, that's definitely a food hub in the United States. But what made you want to come to Boise or stay in Boise as opposed to maybe starting a catering business in like Portland, Seattle, something like that?
Yeah. Well, for me, I'm from here. I was born and raised here. My dad was a chef in Idaho when I was growing up. And then he basically had a big role in the starting and running of the Boise Co-op's wine shop. He's super involved in wine and food. But when I was 21, I moved to New York to become a rock and roll star, and that didn't pan out. But I worked in restaurants the whole time and got to learn and see some really cool stuff. And by 2010, I was getting pretty burned out and wasn't sure I wanted to keep living in New York.
Right.
I met Dave Crick at the Bitter Creek Red Feather, and he offered me a job, and that was
Cheers
the
to Dave
impetus.
Crick out there.
The impetus for me to come back. And that's also where I was working when I met my wife, Tara, who wasn't my wife when I met her,
Yeah.
but she became my wife
Strange
after
enough,
that.
yeah. And
Now-
I was working at the time at the Boise Weekly as their food critic and food editor.
Right.
So I had a real passion for food, and I was born and raised, went to college in Austin, Texas, and then moved to New York as well. After that, we didn't actually know each other in New York, but we lived there at the same time,
Oh, man.
strangely. So I had been exposed to a lot of really amazing food and food culture and food trends, and when I came here, I didn't see a lot of the stuff that was going on in bigger cities at the time, and so I think that really, I really wanted to see more of the cool things that we saw when we went on vacation or when we went
Right.
back to visit Austin or New York. So I think that's what we'd be sitting together brainstorming, like how do we bring those things that we think are so cool in these bigger cities to Boise, because
Right.
my family, my mom had moved here and his family was based here, so we really wanted to stay here and kind of build the culture that we appreciated elsewhere here in Boise.
Right. And kind of especially with you being from Boise and everything, inject a little bit of that Boise spirit, I guess, into it, right? Is
Yeah,
that kind of the
Boise's.
thought?
I mean, there's a reason that Boise is blowing up, which
Right.
is crazy, but also it's like a beautiful town, and it's a
Makes
nice
sense.
place, and we live right by the river, and I like to go swimming in the summertime. It's
Yeah.
nice. This is a nice place,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I'm stoked to be here.
And one thing that you just said too, kind of stuck with me, that you were, wanted to be a rock and roll star. Wild Plum, great name for a band. If it didn't
Yeah.
work out as a catering business, but what made you want to name your catering business Wild Plum? What's the inspiration behind that?
Well, for me, so I have an obsession with tree fruit specifically, wild fruits, apples and peaches and other things, but plums in particular, they're kind of a pernicious tree. There's a lot of places in the country and in Idaho where birds have eaten plums, drop the seeds, and it grows into a tree. So if you look at
Right.
the Boise River or along ditch banks or anywhere kind of around the state or the entire Northwest, there are wild plums growing all over the place. So I've used them to make jam and to eat them and even to make wines before.
Oh boy.
And I'm just fascinated with wild fruits as a thing, as it's not the way that fruit is generally produced for consumption in America.
Right.
I think part of the reason he's really fascinated with wild fruit is that it can be more adaptive to the environment, so it doesn't require the pesticides or all of the water that some of the more commercial grafted fruit requires. So it's scrappy. It
Tenacious.
grows in ditch banks along the river, and it's able to survive where it's planted, which is kind of the philosophy behind our business. Like we really wanted to be scrappy and adaptable, and
there's a lot of different ways
Yeah.
to serve people food, and we started with catering as a mindset with a food truck parked in our driveway at our house, and that was really hard, but we just kind of said, all right, we're going to do this, and then now that COVID has hit, it's been a cluster whoops.
Yeah.
And we're able to adapt to it. We have a space now up of Orchard Street, and we're going to start serving lunches there on Monday. So we're still doing catering, and now we're going to start doing lunches, and we just want to find the best ways to do the cool, fun stuff that we like to do, and serve food, because it's the only thing I know how to do.
Well, and you do it really well. We don't want you to go and find a new career at this
Yeah.
point. We want Wild Plum to stay for
Yeah.
sure. On the whole, the idea of like wild foods or whatever too, I just had a question as well. Do you guys do any foraging like locally, like morels or anything? Is that something that interests you?
Sometimes, running the business is exhausting, or it's a lot of work. So I have foraged and know how to forage things,
Right.
but
we did a lot more when we first started, when we had
Yeah.
a little more time.
Sure.
But
Often it's
now
hard
we
to-
have a forager we work with, so we pay him,
Oh,
and he
nice.
brings us morels and huckleberries, so we don't have to.
Chris
go do that.
Florence from Sweet Valley is great, and probably if you've eaten huckleberries or wild mushrooms in any restaurant in the Treasure Valley, they've probably gotten them from him. And there are other people as well who are involved, but he's kind of a local staple, and we just are thrilled that he is willing to go do that, because it's so awesome.
Right.
But yeah, I pick weird, like, weeds in my yard, things that are edible, things that people don't grow. There are some things
Right.
like purslane and chickweed that usually people aren't selling, that I can find
Totally.
growing in the cracks in the sidewalk that I might eat just because I can.
Yeah, and I think that's that's definitely one of the things that sets you guys apart from anyone in the valley. You guys are doing stuff that's so unique, so delicious.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm always super impressed with everything that you guys do here. So make sure to get your tickets if you haven't already for next week. If it's not sold out already, I'm not sure, but should be a treat. So, you said that you had that food truck outside of your house a little bit in the beginning. How was it actually moving into that facility off of Orchard? Was that like a breath of fresh air?
Yeah, literally at the end of the first year, if we don't find a place, then we can't do this anymore. Like in the middle of winter, because it was, I think,
It was
the year
snowpocalypse.
the
Yeah.
infamous snowpocalypse was the year that we
Yeah.
started. So
That broke everyone's
we're
spirits.
like
that
walking
year.
through
Yeah.
ice snow from our house to the driveway into the truck to like prepare food
Take
for
food,
events, and then
yeah.
trying to drive the truck through the snow. It was
Yeah.
it was hilarious.
Yeah, it broke a lot of people's spirits that year. Definitely broke mine.
But we had a realtor who helped us find Ramona Hildebrand, who I think might be a wine member. But she's helped
Shout out to
us
Hilda.
find a spot, and I think we were really lucky.
The old Tom Sweeney's Dutch Oven Cafe, you might
Yeah.
remember, it was kind of an
Oh, yeah.
institution here
It was
for a while.
legendary.
Yeah, it was still a lot of work to kind of get the space and turn it into our own, but it allowed the business to survive, because that's
And
that was
ice
what had
and
to
snow
happen.
free.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
nice.
A kitchen, an inside kitchen.
So, yeah.
So it looks like we have a question.
Okay.
Feel free, we'll throw it in there. Have you done much with other wildcraft foods from this area? We have so many options, Terrell has asked.
Terrell.
Thank you, Terrell.
A little bit. It kind of depends on what I know as a food person, and then what I can get from other people who might know. So as far as wildcrafted foods, anything that I hear is edible, I try and mess with and find out. I've got wild currants planted in my yard at my
Oh,
house.
cool. Opa.
Purslane and stuff like that.
That's his catchphrase. He's like, "What's this? Can I eat it?"
Yeah,
That's what I say when we're like
totally.
walking down the green belt.
But with-
Well, and you also have to worry about quantity, right?
Yeah.
Like with catering.
That's
that's
the main
Totally,
concern.
yeah. So like our friends at Kin, they'll take their crew out, and I respect the shit out of those guys. They're so awesome. Pardon my language.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
And they can do really cool stuff on the smaller scale. But if we're doing a dinner for 150 people, I can't go out and pick first lane for 150 people or something like that. But I've been in the mountains and tried whatever horse balm and wild peonies and stuff like
The
that.
nettles.
Yeah,
Pickled
actually,
nettles.
I actually really like nettles. We've done in the springtime. We've done some cool stuff with nettles.
It's cool, like cauliflower mushroom.
Yeah, we picked some wild mushrooms.
With
so-
advice
The
from
coral?
the forager.
Yes.
Yeah.
Coral mushrooms?
Yeah.
Floral mushrooms, yeah. So
When
it
we
kind
had
of
an
I know.
obsession with, what was it, the wild, that grew on the trees, the cottonwood. The mushroom.
Cottonwood tree.
Oh, yeah, actually, yeah, we picked a bunch of wild oyster mushrooms this spring
Yeah.
that we found along the river. So it's
It was
kind of
his
like
obsession, like all spring.
Oh,
It was just
yeah.
like
We
looking
don't-
at the trees the whole time.
we don't typically
Amazing.
serve a lot of that stuff to the client because it just depends. I mean, timing is really hard
Sure.
with events,
And
but
quantity,
as a
really.
person, anything that's edible, if I find out it's edible, I'll put it in my mouth and
yeah.
figure it out. from
We
there.
respect that about you
Yeah.
so much here.
and then if I can figure out a way to integrate that into a menu, I would definitely do that.
Totally. Just to bring it back to this to the specifically the event, right? That's going to happen. We've got some really awesome foods that you guys are going to pair with the wines. I'll just list some of them because they sound so incredible. Local beet salad with oil roasted hazelnuts and pecorino. Hope I pronounced that right.
Oh, I got to call Fiddler's Green too.
Ooh.
Get those beets.
Ooh, fresh Idaho peaches with prosciutto and olive oil.
Oh yeah, peaches are on right now. They're so delicious.
Oh man. Also, porcini mushrooms, yum. Steak with chimichurri and charred broccoli.
And that's
Yeah,
from that forager.
I didn't even know that
Yeah.
porcini mushrooms grew in Idaho, and that I found some this
do.
year for the first time. But again, Chris
Yeah.
from Sweet Valley, who
Yeah.
people can't buy from. I'm sorry, he only sells wholesale right now.
Oh man.
But anyone serving porcini and morels in the restaurant right now is probably getting it from Chris.
And then also, I mean, so apt, local plums with Brush Creek blue cheese
Yeah, wild
and
plums.
house roasted almonds.
We're gonna have wild plums.
Amazing.
The definitive
How apt.
plum of wildness.
Yeah.
And this cheese, the Brush Creek, is an amazing creamery that's up in North Idaho that we
Yeah.
are so excited to source from. They do a wonderful job, and their Orchard Blue is a phenomenal cheese. So we're just really excited to be like
We've been
bringing down their
yeah.
stuff into the valley. We order wheels from them all the time.
Yeah, so we got like 20 pounds of blue cheese wheels coming from them this week, and
Very
they're-
appropriate
yeah,
amount
they're
of
in
cheese.
kind of northern Idaho, near Lewiston, in a town called Drury, but they just do such an awesome job, and we love their. And we're stoked to be able. That's one of the things about catering is that we can't. Okay, we wrote a menu. I'm going to call these people, and instead of trying to buy 2 pounds of cheese, I can buy 25 pounds of cheese, and that's
make it
you know,
worth their while.
Yeah, hopefully more
Yeah.
supportive of them, and then we get to use product that we think is awesome. So.
Or even last year we did a big event for a local
Oh,
company.
yeah.
It was like 800 people
my
in the
gosh.
summer, and so we actually called one of the farms we work with and said, hey, we have this event coming up in September, and it was early enough in the planting season that we were like, can you plant
no
and make
way.
sure that you reserve enough, because we need
Yeah,
this
we
many
need 'em.
pounds of veggies to serve these
Whoa.
people.
Yeah,
so
it was like 200 or 300 pounds of vegetables that we got from Fiddler's Green and Purple Sage, and
Oh, that's amazing.
just like, what are you gonna have, and can you also get us this? And then we just bring it in and process it, and
That's
serve it.
kind of been our goal from the start, is to be able to find more ways to sustainably support other like local food purveyors in the community.
Right.
And if we know a year in advance that we have these big events coming up, then it's easier to be like, hey, we're going to need this
Right.
a year from now,
Yeah,
Or, I
it's
mean,
like
in the
200
old
pounds
world
of
when
zucchini.
we did events
Yeah.
that big, but
It's been kind of sad. I was actually talking to Nate at the Modern. He's been helping us with a couple things about. I miss, like, we've been slow because people can't have weddings, we can't have big events. I can't buy as much local food. It's like I miss just getting piles of fresh produce in.
Oh man.
So I'm excited actually for next week because I can call these companies and say, bring me some cheese, bring me some whatever tomatoes or
Yeah.
beets.
Peaches.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all that
totally.
stuff, so.
In that vein though, like what do you think is the most Do you think it's difficult working with us as wineries? Are we a pain to work with?
Oh my god, not at all.
That's Joe.
Or and what's the most enjoyable aspect?
Oh, I just hanging out with the staff, getting to taste all the cool wines before
Getting
they're
drunk.
released to the public.
I mean,
I don't know. We always just have a super fun time. Like,
Yeah.
we do this because we like it.
Yeah.
It's
Good.
what we want to be doing. So
Good. That
every time we
that
come
makes me
here, we're
happy
just
to
like,
hear.
oh, we get to hang out and drink wine and be with cool people. That's
And
great.
eat great food. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
how can you go wrong with that, honestly? And I saw that we had a question from the audience. Coming from big food cities, what made you so passionate about small local farms / vendors? It's a great
Sure.
question.
well, I think that whole movement was introduced to me in bigger cities.
Same thing.
So when I came back, I was like, oh, obviously this is the way it goes. And then Idaho has such an interesting agriculture. You know, we have the farmers market and a lot of small organic people coming around, but also we have big agriculture, and I think can be some crossover in certain contexts. Like, for example, there's a 30-acre asparagus farm in New Plymouth that we got connected with, and they're not organic, but they're no spray. And fresh asparagus is super delicious, and it's super unique because you can't grow anything else. So they produce asparagus from April to June, and then
That's all
yeah,
year.
and so 9 months out of the year it's just empty land.
Wow.
So it's a serious commitment for them to say, we're going to take 30 acres of land and produce a crop for 3 months, and then for the next 9 months nothing's going to happen.
Right.
But it's super exciting meeting those. Her name's Frida Lee, and she's like 83 years
Shout out to
old. She was
Frida.
born and raised in New Plymouth Farms. It's awesome as a human. I want to have interactions with other humans and be able to use things that they're excited about. And that adds another level of passion to, I want food to taste good, and people who are growing fresh foods are going to prepare foods that
Tastes better.
taste better.
Right.
But even if they're not, I mean, they always are. But I like knowing these people and talking to them and saying, hey, what's going on? What are you growing? What's good? And all that stuff. So,
Connecting with people, connecting with the food.
Yeah, it's awesome.
With the land. I mean, I think that is, totally what I'm about and what we're about here at Cinder,
Yeah.
Okay, another question from the audience or from Joe. I just got the signal. Who cooks at your house? And also, what's your fave wine variety? Why, if you got one?
my lady, I will say, I'm going to go ahead and say that Tara probably cooks the most at our house. Tara is an excellent cook, and I love it when she cooks for me, because my favorite meal in the world is the meal that somebody else cooked.
Or ramen or nachos.
Or
We're eating
ramen or-
those like every night.
Which she's also
so.
making, whatever. Because it's hard when you're working all day in the kitchen. You don't want to go home and cook again.
Totally.
So it's.
So you go home and write her food blogs for her at the end of the day.
I cook sometimes, but I think she cooks the most.
And I actually cook a lot of. I was vegetarian before I met him for like 10 years, so I cook a lot of meatless meals.
Awesome.
Just because I'm more comfortable with it, and I think we just are. He cooks meat so amazingly. I call him a meat wizard. We always have so much amazing, like delicious fatty meat hanging out at work that like when I get home, I'm just like, give me some vegetables,
Yeah.
veggies, stat.
Yeah, and I love that. There are certain things that I do great, but I love being able to go home and have some interesting things that she's looked up rather than just eating cold ham and bread and whiskey,
Yeah.
which
Classic.
is
Oh,
also
man,
a thing that I like to
meal.
do.
Sad
Yeah.
meal, man.
Yeah, no, it's a great meal. A peach and a slice of ham and a piece of bread and a huge glass of whiskey.
Okay, all right. I'll try it out.
Um,
I'll try anything once.
As far as favorite wine varietals, I don't know if you have any, but I like what we talked about it earlier. I probably drink too much beer and whiskey, but I still would say that as a complement to food, wine is the best beverage. It is, yeah. So I go home and drink a beer because I like to drink beer and I like to drink
Hey, man.
refreshing cold beverages.
I do the same thing. It
Yeah.
takes a lot of great beer to make great wine.
Yeah.
That's my belief. So.
But with wine, with food, I think that your best bet is to have a glass of wine that works for you. And I don't have a
One that you like.
specific.
I'm a GSM lady. I just
Nice.
love.
Which is this, yeah. That
Yeah,
we're drinking
we're
right now.
drinking right
That's
now.
why.
Shameless
Perfect.
plug.
No, it's great.
It's true.
I always search for those.
Awesome.
Yeah, big Rhone lover.
You said you loved burgundies earlier, right?
Yeah, white burgundy.
She's really fallen in love with white burgundy lately.
Nice.
And my dad is a burgundy nut job. So
Yeah.
he's like burgundy 100% of the way. But he
Nice.
drinks other things, but burgundy is like
His number one.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But also we found that it's like really great with cheese, and cheese is one of my favorite things. So
Oh, man.
pretty much you can't go wrong.
Oh yeah, definitely not. All right, Tara, what was it like being a food critic in Boise when we had, you know, less than 50 restaurants here? That must
I
have
think
been hard.
it was exciting. Actually, I really
Oh, cool.
I enjoyed it, and it was really fun to kind of be amongst the first people to try the new places that were opening up around town. It definitely came with its hardships. I think you know, growing up in a larger city and living in New York, I didn't want to be overly positive about things maybe when I didn't feel that way, and so I
Sure.
definitely got some angry calls to the editor and
Oh, boy.
some
Hate mail.
newspapers thrown at our distributors, but but I think at the end of the day it was really great. Everyone was really supportive of me, and I was able to meet some really great people, and yeah, I just think it was an exciting. I feel like we're here right now because of Boise when it had less than 50 restaurants. Or you know, it's like
Right.
everyone's sort of building on the backs of others who have come before us, and I think every year I'm just more excited about Boise's food scene and
Yeah.
excited to see what's going to happen and how it's going to grow.
Totally. I feel that way about the wine industry here. You know,
Yeah, totally.
we wouldn't be here without the pioneers in the industry, at least here in the Snake River Valley. You know, those first people taking the risk and putting
Yeah.
grapes in the ground. So
Totally,
It's
and
the
then new
same-
people come along
yeah.
and start new
Yeah.
traditions and bring new things to the table,
and they
so-
just put all their trust into you, and they're like, make us a full meal, you know,
Yeah.
for 800 people.
yeah.
But yeah, definitely an exercise of trust and love in the land and everything. So, yeah. Well, I think we're pretty much done for the questions, but I'd love for you guys to let everyone out there know what you've got going on as far as, I know you guys are doing some lunches.
Oh yeah, we
right
didn't even
now.
talk about that.
Yeah.
So we've opened out. As of Monday officially, we're open for lunch. So,
August 10th at 11 a.m.
Yeah, August 10th at 11 a.m. 11 to 2. Our spot on Orchard Street, Monday through Friday. We're going to be serving lunches. We have some limited outside dining and pickup options and digital ordering. So we're actually, you know, when we first started, we didn't really want the restaurant feel, but we've been going for about 5 years, and now we're super excited to have a physical space that's ours and be able to be doing some regular meals. And you know, the coronavirus is a fucking nightmare. It is.
Say the
Like,
least.
it is.
definitely changed catering and
But you know, we try to
service.
find silver linings, and it's really awesome to be able to, like I said, be adaptable and take a new step in things that we're really excited about, and still do caterings, but because everything has changed for everyone in the food industry, also be able to do some simple meals for people that are available all the time. We're really excited.
Awesome.
I think
Yeah.
this was actually kind of part of our 5-year, 10-year plan, but coronavirus kind of kicked us in the
Totally.
pants and made us do it a little bit
The time
sooner.
is
but
now.
Yeah.
we've always really wanted to work more with local protein producers in
Yeah.
particular to order more whole animals, and so this
Awesome.
the thought is to eventually become more of have a cold deli case where we're selling
Right.
meats that we make in house. We make all of our own bacon, pastrami.
Oh man.
We do an amazing meatloaf, and it's all from
It is really
local Malheur River Meats in Vail.
Oh,
They
man.
make amazing pork.
It's true.
We roast our own turkey in house. So we're just really passionate about sourcing great,
Right.
particularly meat products, and serving them. So we're hoping that will kind of be how we grow, is really being able to incorporate more local purveyors in a larger sense into that.
Yeah, and on that note, definitely check out their website, which is wildplum.
we've got wildplumevents.com
All
is
right.
our catering website. We also have a link there to our new luncheonette, Wild Plum Luncheonette, and we have a separate website for that. It's plumluncheonette.com, and we have an Instagram at Plum Luncheonette. So you can
Beautiful
check out
photos.
Oh, thank
Definitely
you.
check them out.
Thanks so much.
And thank you so much for coming here.
Hey,
Oh,
thanks for
thanks
having
for
us.
having
It's our
us.
pleasure.
Yeah,
Thanks to
great.
anyone
Yeah.
who's watching.
Yeah.
Super awesome.
Yeah, and we look forward to tasting all those amazing foods for next year,
Yeah,
for
we-
next week, and seeing you guys in here. But
can't
in the
wait.
meantime, stay safe out there, and we'll see you.
Drink
See you
wine.
next week.
Bye.
Bye.